Hello, my name is Arthur, and in this video we're going to make 3 layers of background images for a parallax background in our Godot platformer project. So we're going to start off in GIMP and make a couple of UV map images for Blender. So we'll start off Control N. We're going to go 256 by 256. And we'll start off with transparent. So we'll start transparency, OK. Let's Control All, Control Copy, Control Shift Paste. Now we have 2 images like that. In this image we're going to use the grid. So we'll snap to grid, show grid, image, configure grid. We're going to put it at 128 by 128, and that's just going to create a crosshair. We'll use the gradient tool. We'll start at the center, come out to an edge, and we'll look through our tool, and we're going to change the shape here to spiral. So we'll use this spiral shape, and we'll find a color that works for us here. There's a rainbow color this one is sort of okay. Let's see what happens if we move this in. This one actually looks pretty good just as it is. Let's engage that, enter. I don't know what happened there. Control Z, Z. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Let's try again. So we're going to go with that. Enter. And we're going to duplicate that layer. So we'll duplicate and duplicate. Merge down and merge down. Then in this layer we're going to pick a sky-like color, so something like that, and the gray color will work for us. So edit, fill with foreground color. We'll flip over to the gray, get the paintbrush. We'll use this brush. It's called vegetation. Could use being a little bit smaller. Let's zoom in a little bit. And we're just going to paint some clouds onto this. We want to make some lines and not leave too much blue. Too much blue won't work out so great. So we'll try it like that. Filters, distorts, whirl and pinch. We'll increase the radius of that. And let's see which direction works the best. And I think something like that's going to work out good. So we're going to export these to the desktop. They're just temporary files that we're going to use in Blender very quickly. So they don't need any special names. I won't even keep them. So we'll export that one. We'll export this one. I'll call it Untitled 2. Just ignore that extra period there. And that's fine. We can just close these down now. So in Blender, we'll quickly address the camera, our render settings. So we'll go cycles, transparent, 256 by 256 for our resolution. The location of the camera and the light shouldn't prove too important. We'll delete the default cube, Shift A, add a UV sphere. We'll give the UV sphere a subdivision surface modifier, and we'll set it to smooth. We'll go into UV editing. We'll open desktop, our sky-like image. We'll map that onto the sphere, image texture, select that. We'll look at it from the top view, tab into object mode, Shift A, add a circle, scale, tab into edit mode, extrude, drop it, scale, select all, UV, project from view. We'll change this image over to this image. We'll select all, scale it, and we can also circle select and deselect the outside and experiment with the scale on the inside to come up with different effects. So we'll map that on with a new image texture. We'll put that in there. We'll come into shading. We'll feed alpha into alpha on the rings. We have the ring selected here. And we're going to go color into emission. Then on the planet, we'll take color into emission. And we'll bring down the emission strength to around 0.3. We can come into here, tab, 0, look through the camera. We select that camera up, view, camera to view. Rotate this so that we have a little bit of something to work with. Something like this would probably come across nice, so we'll just center that in our screen. Could probably use putting the subdivision surface modifier onto the rings to smooth out that edge some, and render an image. So there's one layer for our background image. Image, save as, desktop, planet. And I'll just close this file down. I don't feel a need to save that one. So let's check how much time we're at here. That's 8 minutes. Okay, so our primary background image will be Control N to create a new image. 1920 by 1080. Okay. That filled with transparency, that's alright. We'll just select this purple color. Edit. Fill with foreground color. We'll go back to the black-white palette. We'll find foreground to transparency in the list here. So foreground to transparency. We can zoom back a whole bunch. And we'll go Control and draw in our gradient. We need to change the shape from spiral to linear. If we pull down the bottom handle, we can darken that transition to come up with something more like a night sky. So we're holding the Control key when we do that because that keeps us on a 90-degree angle. And when the image mirrors across the background for the game engine, it will have a consistent mirroring, so there won't be a line here created by a crooked gradient. So we'll just enter this. We'll call this good enough for a night sky. We'll zoom in a little bit so we can see. Filters, noise, we're going to use hurl noise. If we double click on randomization percent, we can enter the value 0.1. Okay. And that's going to come up with a starry sky. Then Control N for a new image, 1920 by around 400. We want this to fill with transparency. Okay. We're going to duplicate a new layer on there. So we want a second layer. And we're going to fill that with black. Make sure we're working in the transparent layer. We'll select some new colors. We'll want a couple of different grays. So we'll select that one. And a lighter gray for that one. Okay. Paintbrush tool. We'll use this one. That's called Vegetation 2. Oh, actually, let's use this one for this purpose. We'll bring up its size a little bit. And that didn't work out. Okay, that will work out. Zoom back a little bit. Now, the darker portion of a cloud would be on the bottom. So we're going to do some clicks across here, some clicks across here, something along those lines. We'll flip around. We'll do some lighter clicks up here. We can modify the size of the brush. As well, we can change its shape by playing with the aspect ratio and angle. But we're going to keep this simple. We're going to call these our clouds. We'll delete this layer. Select all. Control A. Control copy. And we can have a look at what they look like on top of our planet, on our background. And they don't look that bad considering the small amount of effort that we've put into that. So we're probably nearly out of time here. We'll export these. So export as. I'll just put them onto the desktop and move them manually into the project file for the next one. First, before we export that, we have to delete this layer. It doesn't belong there. Let's get rid of that paintbrush tool. So file, export as, background 1, export that. We'll export the clouds, and in the next video we'll come back and we'll turn that into a parallax background. And until then, take care.